Okay, so I see that all of the participants are connected via Zoom, right? You're not
Yes,
sitting
yes.
together right now, are you?
No, yes. Everybody just connected via Zoom. Everybody, all participants, please. I already told you. Please name your name. The first word is your country of origin, and then your name. Okay. And then our speakers then can know directly from which country you come from. All right, all
Yeah.
participants. All right.
And
All
even more
right.
importantly, please switch on your camera. I need to see you because I have
Right.
questions where I need visual feedback. So please,
Right.
everyone, turn on your
Yes.
camera.
On cam, please, everybody. Okay, they're always lazy to on cam nowadays. Tom, I don't understand. But maybe they just you know not in tidy condition like me. I don't know. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Before we start our session this afternoon, please let me um, read Professor Thomas Cobb short bio. Prof. Thomas Cobb, Prof. Tom, let me read your short bio first. Yeah, Prof. Is it okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Sure.
Uh, Now my computer is no. Um,
Yeah.
all right, yeah. Okay. Oh, where is the page? Okay. Okay. Professor, Junior Professor Dr. Thomas Cobb, just joining us. He is a junior professor for economics and didactics at the University, Siegen University, Germany. He has a PhD for agricultural science from Göttingen University, Germany, and also Master of Science from also agricultural economics of Göttingen University, Germany. Um, Dr. Professor Thomas Kopp has quite a lot of publication. You can of course you can browsing from Google Scholar or from Scopus or also from University of Siegen's homepage, yeah. And also Prof. Kopp uh, have this Emerald Literary Award for the best article in 2017 for publishing in China for the publication in China Agriculture Economic Review. Wow, congratulations, Prof. Kopp. Okay, Prof. Kopp, you can start your lecture. Thank you very much for joining our summer course.
Yeah, thank you very much for the nice invitation to participate in this course. To the organizers, Ibu Melanie and Ibu Sunny, who reached out to me, and also thank you all very much for attending this course and also for the very nice introduction. You seem to be a very interesting and heterogeneous crowd. I would like to ask you once more to turn on your camera, please. So I'm
Yes.
giving you a few seconds, please. So I'm going to wait until everyone has switched on their camera.
Yeah, please, everybody, please turn on your camera. Come on. All participants, please.
Okay, the screen starts to fill, but I still see many black tiles. I'm going
Hmm,
to wait a few more minutes,
that's
or a few more
right.
seconds, hopefully only.
How is summer in Germany, Prof?
I'm in Austria right now, and it's raining.
Ah, in Austria.
Yes, I'm like,
Ah,
given that this is part of a degree in tourism, and given the
ah,
overall conference or course scheme of tourism, I decided to stream live from a very touristy place. So this is the
hmm.
Lake Grundl, the
Oh,
Grundl Lake in Austria, which is known for its World Heritage sites and very lovely scenery.
Ah, yeah.
Unfortunately, you cannot really see that on it. Maybe if I move that. Yeah. Can you
Ah,
see the lake?
beautiful. Yeah, we can see the
It's quite nice,
lake.
actually. Yeah.
Thank you so much for preparing this from the touristic area, Prof.
Yeah.
Can I say, can you repeat the name again? What an
Hun,
effort
I
you put
can.
into it in this place. It's beautiful.
Yeah, hang on. I will just put it into the chat.
Yeah, that's better.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I'm still waiting for everyone to turn on their cameras. So
Yeah.
about, let's say, 2/3 of you have managed, 1/3 is still missing.
Come on, everybody, please. Devani, Isa, Nurmiati, where are you guys? Are you still with us or in the bathroom or whatever? Berliana, Zainab, Haridi, Wasif Mehdi. Come on, where are you guys? Resti. Hmm. Hello. Isa, Berlianda. Berlianda, are you still with us? Guys, if you do this, please, if you are just standby, but when I call your name and then you are not there, then I can disregard your attendance, yeah, because you are not joining the summer course. You just stand by from the Zoom, but you don't listen. You are not listening. That's you know that can be considered as an attendance. Yeah.
Okay, there's one person who has an excuse. All right. Um, let's start there. So, Ibu Mela, okay, first, selamat pagi and saya senang bertemu dengan kalian to the person who speak Indonesian. I speak a little bit of Indonesian because I did some work on Sumatra Island in the province of Jambi.
Oh, Jambi.
And this is actually where the publication result that Ibu Melanie just cited that received that award from
Mm.
Emerald. Before I want to start with my own introduction, I would be curious to get to know a little bit about you, about the attendees of the course. So, and I suggest you simply just raise your hands, and this is why I wanted you to switch on your camera so I can see you when you give me visual feedback. So, who of you is still studying anything like undergraduate, graduate, PhD, whatsoever? Who of you is a student? Just raise your hands. Okay, that's like one, two. Ah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Using the Zoom. That's
Most
actually
of
very good.
them. Most of them, Prof.
Most. Okay. Yeah, that seems to work. Okay, so well, okay. So let's probably do it differently. So now the counter probe, who is not a student anymore, but who works in a professional sector, be it in a business or for a government or in the civil society. So who is already working professionally? Okay. So that's now one, two, three, something like that. Four, five. Okay, I counted five now. Six. Before I counted seven. So that's 13 of you who are either students or working in a professional capacity. In total, we are 38. So that means around 20 or so of you are neither students nor workers. So that's actually interesting. So let's start with the one of you who are studying, who of you is in an undergraduate program in a bachelor's degree? Hands up, please now, like bachelor students. And yeah, I suggest probably use the Zoom function for raising your hands. There's somewhere this reaction. So that's it's 12, 13. Okay. 14. Oh yeah, you. Okay. So that's round about half of you are in their undergraduate studies. I guess most of the others are then master students. Is there also someone doing here who's doing a PhD right now? No, one, two. Oh yeah, there's a few PhD students here as well. Okay. And now I would be interested in learning a little bit about your degree programs. So who of you is doing, let's say, something in economics or economics related? Okay. Oh wow, that's actually nearly the majority. Okay. Um, and who of you does some studies in something tourism related? Sustainable finance. Yeah, you can. Okay, thanks for that. So I would say that this is part of, yeah, economics slash business. Okay, but like did I miss that, or like about tourism? Is there anyone really focusing on real tourism or works in the tourism industry for that matter? Not so much. Okay, well that's I'm a bit relieved about that because I was like the title of the whole program of this course has tourism in it, but I used to work actually as a professor for sustainable tourism in Italy, but I like not much of my current research is about that. So okay, thank you for participating in that bit of a kickoff. So I'm happy that to see that you're all awake. I mean, where you are, it's like most of you are. Who is in Indonesia? That's probably another question. Like, who is present in Indonesia right now? Okay, and oh, that's nearly everyone. Thank you. So for you, it's now like someone in the afternoon, I suppose. Okay, thank you for that feedback so far. By the way, now I'm going to have a look at my presentation, so I will not be able to see you anymore. So for that reason, or only like two or three of you who are on the side window. So if someone has a question or anything, just feel free to interrupt me. I don't mind at all. Actually, I welcome it if I can like take a bit of a detour around my script, and if you can just, yeah, like if you have a question or so, just interrupt and start talking. It's not a problem at all, and it's even encouraged. And the chat, uh, and maybe Melanie, you can have a look at the chat, and if someone poses a question in the chat, then I would like you to interrupt and tell me that there's something in the chat. Yeah, all right. So I'm looking at my slides now. The title of my input is Inequality, Climate Change, and Food Security. So this is kind of the nexus that I'm addressing in my research from several angles, so to say. So a bit of a background of myself. I'm currently an assistant professor for economics and their didactics at the University of Siegen, which is in Germany, pretty much in the middle somewhere. Like I'm sure that most of you have never heard about Siegen. I can tell you that it is located very roughly between Frankfurt and Cologne, which are probably a bit more known. Before I came to Siegen, I worked at the University of Bolzano in Italy, which is where I worked in a sustainable tourism program and taught what's called environmental and resource economics in the tourism industry. Before that, I worked at the University of Göttingen in Germany as well, which is really in the middle of Germany, where I also earned my PhD. In the past, I worked quite a lot with colleagues from different colleges and schools in different parts of the world. So currently, I have a collaboration with the State University of Zanzibar in Tanzania, in which we are working together with school teachers and pupils from schools. I have two collaboration partners in the United States. That is at UC Davis, which is in California, and the Arizona State University. And in another teaching program right now, I'm working with the Kerala Agricultural University, which is in the south of India. And of course, last but definitely not least, is the UNJA, that's Universitas Jambi, which is where I got my where I did my PhD in collaboration with. Probably the students here who are from Indonesia. Is anyone here from Sumatra Island?
There is Prof. Pak Prayoto, Dr. Prayoto Tanoto. He is an academic from UNRI, ya.
Yeah,
From
Dr.
Lancang
Tanoto?
Kuning. Lancang
Yeah,
Kuning.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
yeah.
From
Universitas Lancang
Oh.
Kuning from.
Kanbaru, Prof.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, cool. So yeah, I work not far away from that place.
Yeah,
So
9
that's very
hours from
nice.
Jambi.
9 hours from Rambi. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right,
9 hours.
wonderful. So yeah, thank you for that. So today I'm going to talk about current topics in sustainability research. And as I said, it's about inequality, climate change, and food security. And first, I would like to ask you a question. Why are inequality and the environment important? So first, income inequality. Actually, I go back. So who of you can tell me what income inequality means and why that might be an important thing?
Yeah, I will try, Prof.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, in Riau province, many area is under the concession area. So basically, our land concentrate in some of the rich men of Indonesia. That's why the other one is just as an employee. That's the condition in Riau.
Yeah, indeed. So, any other ideas? Who wants to contribute something? I'm going to collect a few more voices and then I continue.
They are still quite shy, Prof.
Yeah, and for
Yeah,
the
sometimes if
for the
nobody says something, it can be either because everyone is shy or no one knows, and that is very difficult to distinguish.
yeah,
So if you're not so happy to speak up in front of the crowd, you can also type into the chat if you have any idea what inequality means and why that could be problematic. But sorry, first, Tonoto, you said something. No.
yeah.
Okay.
The other one is because the concentration of the economic will be affected to the environmental condition. Many the local people sell the land, and then the oil palm will be expanded daily in on progress now. So it is very important to balance the economic condition between the poor and the rich men.
Yeah. That's already the connection between inequality and the environment. Yeah, that's actually good. Yeah.
Yes. Hello, sir.
Yes.
Yes. I think the inequality is trying to refer to as the unequal distribution of resources, either from the government or from other side of the society. And this affect the environment in the area of the resource generation, maybe like from female gender side and other. That is what I thought.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Thank you very much for adding that. So you're right. So inequality can be measured along several dimensions, and gender certainly is one of them. So let me. There was one more thing in chat. Exactly. So there were some indeed. So those last points, I this is actually where I was going. So inequality can already, even when not looking at the environment, inequality can already be a bit of a problem by itself. So now let's have like a look at an example how we can actually illustrate inequality. And that's what we have here. This is the distribution of wealth in Indonesia, and that relates to what Prayoto referred to before, that concentrate that income or actually wealth. So we were not talking about about income, but about wealth inequality is very much concentrated here. If you look here, this big part of the pie on the left hand side, where we can see that nearly half of all wealth is owned by only 1% of the population. And when you add the next 4% and the next 5%, so this is now the top 10% of the wealth of the wealthiest Indonesians, they together earn 75% of all wealth. So that is a tremendous concentration. Or when you look here at the top at the small red thing, that's the bottom 50%, right? So that's sorry, bottom 40%. So nearly half of the population of Indonesia only owns 1.4% of all assets. So that is a very, very high level of unequal distribution. We can also look at the world map, and there's something that is called the Gini coefficient. That is a measure or an indicator that measures how unequal the income of a country is distributed. So if the Gini coefficient is like it is like an indicator between 0 and 1, and if it is 0, that means perfect equality, meaning that every person earns exactly the same income. That means that essentially the average GDP per capita is exactly what every single person earns in that society. And a value of 1, on the other hand, means perfect inequality. That means that everyone earns nothing except for one person, and this one person earns or owns the entire economy. Of course, those extreme values do not really occur in the real world. In the real world, it looks more like that. So you have countries that are like that have low levels of inequality, such as here the Scandinavian countries in Northern Europe. Then you have countries of still low inequality, such as European countries. Then you have intermediate levels of incomes of income inequality, which you have like here in Russia and China, South Asia, and Southeast Asia. So Indonesia is also here in this intermediate levels of inequality. And then you have very high levels of income inequality, which is here in Colombia, some Caribbean islands, and in some areas of Africa, and most of that in the southern third of Africa. What do you think? Like, who has an idea? How come that particularly in the southern part of Africa you have such high levels of inequality? That has something to do with history. Like, who has an idea what the reason might be for that? Like, what like when we look, like, let's say only at South Africa, what, like, when you think of South Africa and what you know from history? Yeah, sorry, Mahmoud.
No, I am from Nigeria, so I can tell maybe the major source of inequality in our country is political powers we give to people who did not deserve for the power. I think this is
I think that is probably the reason for inequality in many many middle inequality countries, that there's like one strong elite that manages to dominate much of the rest of the country and therefore manages to accumulate high levels of assets, so to say. And for the southern part of Africa, there's one particular historical reason. Who knows what happened in South Africa in 90? Oh, who's kind of like a very big national hero in South Africa?
I think Nelson Mandela, right?
Nelson Mandela, that is correct. Yeah, that's the one who I refer to. And what did he like? What is he known for?
I think historically there has been a huge struggle because in terms of race as well, I want to say, I think, because the black people were suppressed a lot, and that was a power struggle for a long, long time. And I think Nelson Mandela struggled for that politically as well. I mean, I'm not expert on the history, but this is just from the general knowledge I have a little bit.
Yeah. No, yeah, very good. Like this is exactly where I'm going. Like, and I mean, you have racial segregation and racism in many countries. And South Africa, where they went a step further because they had institutionalized that like to a level where it went through all economic spheres and all parts of daily life, which was called apartheid. And
exactly. I was
apartheid ended in the early 90s, like 1993 or 94. And what we see today, the high levels of inequality in South Africa are still a result of apartheid, essentially. So that explains those high levels of inequality in South Africa. And there were like not exactly that, but there were similar systems also in neighboring countries, and that's why that whole area there is so dark. In South America, it's also very well known for its high levels of income inequality. You see, Colombia is black, then Brazil is dark red. Other countries are also red, but not completely dark red. That has something like okay, I'm just going to say it like in South America, that has something to do with the type of colonialism that took place there. So many of you are from countries that suffered from colonialism or that were colonized someday. I don't see anyone from South America, at least no one has entered that there. What happened there was something that was called extractive colonialism. So unlike, let's say, for example, in the United States, where people went, like, which was also colonized, but their people went on to settle. In South America, the colonies were set up to extract natural resources largely and for agriculture, sugarcane, for example. And therefore, the institutions they set up there were completely different from the institutions that were set up, for example, in North America, like what is today the United States or Canada. In those colonies where they had settlers, the institutions that were built in such a way to like enable equal participation and then in the end to allow for democracy, because all of the people who went there, they're the same because they were interested in the people who lived there, who were the settlers from the home countries. In South America, the colonizers did not really care about how the people are doing. They only set up institutions in such a way that it helps them to extract the resources. And what we see there today in terms of high levels of inequality is still a legacy of those of this institutional setup during colonization. So, and now I'm coming to some issues, like this was now descriptive of what inequality means and where it comes from. So now a few words on how that might actually be problematic. And for that, I refer to some of the points that were raised by you, particularly in the chat. Yeah, because it can lead to social gaps and social unrest. This is precisely the point. So you have that, and there's quite some evidence for the negative consequences of inequality, such as political instability, low social mobility, poverty traps, and all of those they lead to, yeah, in the end to like a non-use of the potential welfare that could be achieved in the countries that have high levels of inequality. Determinants, and there's also some research on that, are financial liberalization, the demographic composition, unemployment, economic development, and even international trade that can increase, like not necessarily, but it can increase inequality. So now one brief mention about the difference between inequality and inequity. That is a tough one. I'm wondering if anyone here can tell me something about the difference between inequality and inequity. Yeah, it's a little bit difficult. Essentially, the difference is on whether one focuses on, or if one considers the potentially heterogeneous needs of the people. Now, that is very abstract, and this is why I have a figure to illustrate that. So what we see here first, this is probably what we observe in reality. So we have very high levels of inequality. So you have here one person who has many boxes to stand on and he can watch the game very easily. Then there's one person who has one box and can see just fine. And then there's another person who does not even not have a box, but even stands in a hole in the ground. So if we would redistribute here to have like a more equal distribution of boxes, we would end up here. And one would say, well, okay, this is now equality. Everyone owns the same box. However, as you can see, there's this one person who's very tall, so he can still watch the game super easily, and one person who is too short, and even although he has a box to stand on, he cannot watch the game. And then we move to equity. And equity is exactly this, what I mentioned before, that considers the different needs of people. So the person who's very tall does not actually need a box, while the person who's very short might need two boxes. And that means that focus on equity allows for an equal participation of the individual in society, let's say, right? And that does not necessarily mean that everyone has the same, like here in the middle figure, but that people get what they need, right? And then, of course, one can also think a bit further and ask oneself, why does there actually need to be a fence? Now, a brief word about environmental issues before we move on. And I guess that all of you have seen that before. Or maybe I'm going to ask you, like, who has seen that? You can just raise your hand. Who has seen that image before? Not really. What we see here is an illustration of how humanity has trespassed several what the authors of the study call Will et al. Planetary boundaries. This concept of the planetary boundaries was established already in the early 2000s, like I think 2004 or 2006 or so. And the idea of this concept is to show us that we need to take care of the environment in several dimensions. Like much research, including some of my own research, focuses on the greenhouse gas, on the greenhouse effect, on climate gas emissions, on climate change. And this is certainly a big problem that we are dealing with and that we have actually caused as humanity, but it is not the only problem. Like when we look at this graph, we also see biosphere integrity, we see land use change, we see phosphorus and nitrous cycles, we see ocean acidification. So and we see biodiversity. Biodiversity is in the biosphere integrity measure, and we see freshwater use, etc., etc. And what this figure tries to illustrate, that we need to become better in all of that, right? It is not enough to only reduce our climate gas emissions. We need to actually account for all of those different things, like phosphate and nitrogen. It's an issue that is relevant for everyone who does agriculture, for example. However, one critique of this concept is that it only looks at the environment. It doesn't look at people. And therefore, a few years later, Kate Raworth from Cambridge, I think, she developed the concept of what she calls donut economics. And what we have here is in this outside circle, the same dimensions as we have here in our planetary boundaries concept. So we have climate change, ocean acidification, air pollution, biodiversity loss, land conversion. It's the same thing that we have over there. But what she adds to what she calls the ecological ceiling is a social foundation. So the social foundation is a bunch of services that societies should provide to all their members, such as food, water, shelter, health, but also more citizen rights, such as a political voice, social equity, gender equality, etc., etc. And if a society managed to provide this social foundation and at the same time remain within planetary boundaries, or as it said here, under the ecological ceiling, then we have something that is called a safe and just space for humanity. Yeah. And now, thirdly, let's talk a little bit about nutrition. So who of you has ever heard of the triple burden of malnutrition and can say what that means? And if you haven't heard about that, you can also think like what can go wrong in terms of nutrition. I think that is not such a difficult question. So I'm going to wait a few more minutes until someone has either spoken up or I have some messages in the chat. I mean, what can go wrong with nutrition?
Um, I mean, obviously, first of all, the health is going to be affected in a bad way. Okay, there will be like uh, the child in question or the kids, they may not grow up properly, right?
Mhm.
They'll be weak, right? They with nutrition, and if they do not control it, if they are overeating, they may become obese. So in either case, like eating too little or eating too much or not getting the proper or enough nutrients in any
Yeah,
possible way is going to affect the body negatively. And it
yes,
will show up in terms of your physical health and maybe even
yeah,
mental health, right?
indeed. Yeah. That's a very, very good summary. And also, but Noor also has included something on this issue in the chat. So, like what you said verbally was also included here in the chat, stunting, obesity, and micronutrient deficiency, actually. So, stunting comes from what you said, Aisha, from eating too little. So, if you don't eat enough calories, that has precisely those consequences that you meant, and it is measured as stunting. Stunting means that a child is too short for for his or her age, and that is a measure of, or that is an indicator of lack of calories. Obesity or overnutrition or overweight is right the opposite. That means that someone gets too much nutrition. That's also what you said, Aisha. And then the third one, micronutrient deficiency, means that the amount of calories can be all right, but there's not like the how do you say, like the certain micronutrients are not sufficiently represented, like not enough iron, not enough vitamins, etc., etc. And this is measured by anemia. So anemia is iron deficiency, and iron deficiency is within the broader category of micronutrient deficiency. And that is problematic because, like, for exactly the same reasons that you mentioned, Aisha, lack of physical and mental fitness. Let's put it like that. So thank you for those comments, and also thank you for the two, also Abdul, for yeah, like it's interesting that overweight and obesity, that's two different things, but it's kind of like the same direction, right? So if you eat too much, first get overweight, and if you eat more, even then you get obese. So it's they often come together. So very good, thank you. Um, so, and here a bit of a summary where that particularly exists. So that's the undernutrition, the lack of calories. And those data are all, what I'm showing here is all from the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations. Then we have anemia, which is a micronutrient deficiency. And you see when you compare this, it's actually interesting. Yeah, it's largely in the tropics, in tropical countries. And then overweight, it's kind of like the reverse image, North America, Europe, and the very like at the very southern countries. There's Chile, Argentina, Australia, New Zealand, and some Pacific islands now. And there are, and probably that's something that needs to be highlighted here. There are even countries that have this triple burden of malnutrition inside their own country. So there are people who are undernourished and there are people who are overweight at the same time. Okay. So let's have a look how those developed over the last 20 years. And what you see here is the development of stunting, anemia, and overweight. So the first, like in panel A, stunting stands for undernutrition, so not enough calories. Second, anemia means that the food is not diverse enough, and overweight, yeah, it's also clear what it means. And the first thing that I would like to show is that in terms of undernourishment and micronutrient deficiency, it's getting better everywhere. So both in the high income countries, those are at low levels, and both in the middle and low income countries, where some of you come from, we have very beneficial development. The indicator here is always the share of the population at the age of 5. So it's children who are 5 years old of the whole country, and it says that, for example, here in the low-income countries, 30, like right now, or as of 2020, a bit less than 30% of all 5 years old were underfed, which is problematic, but the development is good. And however, what is most striking, of course, is the difference between those 3 lines. And then when we look at the overweight, there we see, particularly in the high income country, a tremendous increase over the last 2 decades. And that is very striking. Low income countries also have low levels of overweight in general, but like I said, there can be exceptions, and there are countries who have both. And the middle income countries, well, it got worse. And now over the last 10 years, it got a little bit better. So that's actually quite interesting. And now the big question is, why would actually inequality, pollution, and nutrition interact? So why are we looking here at those 3 different things at the same time? And that has several facets. So first is at the micro level, something that is called the environmental angle curve. The environmental angle curve looks like that, and it illustrates the relation between income and emissions. And what we see here is that it's increasing. So that means that countries with low level, or households with low levels of income, and that households with a low income also have low emissions. And if a household gets richer, the household will also cause more emissions through their consumption. However, and this is now the very important thing, is that this is a concave curve. So that means that higher households create lower emissions per dollar of income, right? While lower income households create more emissions per dollar of income, right? Like if it was constant, it would be a straight line, but higher households create less emissions per income. And this is very important, because that means if you take money from the rich and give it to the poor, more of that money turns into consumption, into emissions, and this is problematic from an environmental perspective. And another dimension at the micro level is conspicuous consumption, or status consumption, also referred to as the Veblen effect. And this means that households might only consume to indicate their social status. For example, buying a new iPhone every year, that is nothing that one really needs. That is more to show off to the neighbors. I mean, not necessarily, but in general. And at the macro level, we have things that are called collective action dynamics and bad governance and corruption. So we see that higher, like countries with higher level or lower levels of inequality, higher levels of equity, also are more likely to be organized in a more democratic way, and more democratic societies also take better care of their common goods and of their common goods and of their public goods. And also lower levels of inequality are also associated with less corruption, with better governance, and that also usually is good terms for the natural environment. And since we have those opposing effects, so there are effects or there are potential transmission channels that suggest that the relation between inequality and pollution and nutrition is positive, and other plausible transmission channels that predict a negative relationship. And both of those are like make sense. We look at the empirics now and see which of those effects dominate. So I have several empirical questions, and in the remainder of this talk, that's kind of like the last 10 minutes, I'm going to talk about some empirical insights at this interface of questions. So first is, are the distributional data actually correct? Is the environmental angle curve probably not concave, but probably a straight line? What are the net effects of inequality on emissions? And what are transmission channels, for example, regarding the effect of inequality on meat consumption? And finally, how does inequality affect nutrition? I'm going to skip over that because that's actually, no, okay, I show it. So one main problem is in households, like data on inequality are often based on household surveys. So that means that you take a sample of 10,000 households in a country, you knock on their door, and you ask, what do you earn? Simply put, you ask some more question, but that's the thing. And now the problem is that often high-income households are either by chance don't appear in the survey or refuse to answer. That is an issue called the missing rich. And we have a data here from Ecuador, in which we want to quantify how big that issue of the missing rich is. And to do so, we combined data from those household surveys, that's the red data here, with data from tax records, that's the blue line here. And there we can see indeed that especially in the high part of the income distribution, we lack data and from the high income households. So based on that, we could analyze how environmental angle curves look like, particularly in this higher part of the income distribution. And what we see here is that here, this gray line, this is the angle curve estimated only with data from the household surveys. And here, the blue and the red lines, they are constructed with an integration of household surveys and tax register data, and that shows us actually that the environmental angle curve is more of a straight line, and that suggests that from the high micro level, a concave consumption function does not lead to increasing emissions or increasing environmental use as a result of redistributive measures. Now, as I said, when we want to know the net effects, we have to aggregate and look at the entire countries. So therefore, we ran an analysis of panel data with 116 countries over 55 years. And there we tried to figure out the relation between the Gini coefficient that I explained earlier and the income per capita. And that looks like that. This was published 2 years ago in a journal called Ecological Economics. Now, let me briefly explain that graph. Here on the horizontal axis, we have GDP per capita, and on the vertical axis, we have the Gini coefficient, right? And all those little white dots, they represent countries. So each dot is one country. And the shading of the graph represents the CO2 emissions. So countries that are here in the black area, they have very high levels of emissions, while here in the white area, they have very low levels of emissions. And what we see here is that if we take any country, let's say this one here, and we reduce the Gini index, that means reduce inequality, we go to a darker shaded area. That means that if we reduce inequality, then emissions go up. Now, the question that would be is like, how is that actually, like, what is the cause of that? And you might know that one main contributor of greenhouse gas emission is the agricultural sector. And within the agricultural sector, it's largely the raising of ruminants, so that's cattle, goats, sheep, etc., who who like in their digestive process create a lot of methane. That is the chemical molecule CH4. Methane is a very potent climate gas. Another reason for emissions associated with animal husbandry is the clear felling of rainforest in order to produce feed, such as soy plantations in South America and other countries in the world. And therefore, we looked at how income inequality affects the consumption of different types of meats. And I'm not going to go into detail of all those figures here. I would just like to summarize here that we see that if inequality goes down, that generally leads to an increase in meat consumption. And the only exception is that in most high-income countries, inequality reductions are also associated with decreases in beef and poultry consumption. And that is something that I would explain with this Veblen effect that I mentioned before, this conspicuous consumption effect. And now finally, let's have a brief look before I finish at the effect of inequality and on nutrition outcomes. So that's a panel data analysis again. And there we have the effects of changes in inequality on stunting and anemia, where we see that decreasing inequality also increases nutritional quality, right? So if we go down here and if we go down like from here to any point to the south in that figure, we see that they end up at lower levels of stunting and anemia, which is a good thing. For overweight, it's a bit more complicated. In low-income countries, which is here, a decrease of inequality is associated with an increase in overweight. While in the high-income countries, which are here, if inequality goes down, then overweight also goes down. So there we have, like, let's say, a virtuous cycle. And I can explain, and this is my last slide, that for the undernutrition and micronutrient deficiency dimensions, I assume that income is just a binding constraint for lower income households' food consumption. However, if inequality goes down, also overweight increases. And that means, actually, I made a mistake here on the slide. I need to correct that. Hang on, I'm going to share my screen once more. So now you're back here. Yeah, okay. So what we see here is like, that's my potential explanation for that. So if you have in low-income country, if inequality goes down, the nutrition improves, right? Which suggests that the binding constraint was indeed the income. However, it also leads to an increase in overweight. And that means that those increases financial means for the poor households is primarily used for unhealthy food. And possible reasons for that is that, for example, fast food and sweetened beverages can be associated with a higher social status. So that's why people like it. And also with the fact that the cheapest food is actually the most unhealthy food, for example, from supermarkets. And in high income countries, right, the opposite is true. Like there, we see that low quality food is not associated with prestige because it is cheap in those contexts, such as sweetened drinks and fast food. And instead, the rising income in low income households is not used for more calories, but actually for more healthy food and for, micronutrients, vitamins, fruit and vegetables, etc. And with this, I have reached the end of my presentation for today. And I think we have another 5 minutes or so for questions. So I would like to thank you very much for your attention. And let me stop sharing my screen so we see each other in full size. And now I'm open to your questions.
Thank you, Professor Kopp. Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, and because healthy food and organic food is expensive. We can't afford it. All right, because we have the second speaker for this session, maybe just one question, yeah? Is it okay, Prof. Kof, yeah? Because Dr. Dom is waiting for his
Sure.
turn. Okay, just one question, participant. Any question from the floor? Hello? Hmm? Can I okay, if it is not there is no question, then I will just tunjuk ya. Yusuf, do you have any question for Professor Koh? Yusuf,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah,
For now,
any
I
question,
actually don't
Yusuf?
have any question in my mind, so I might
Okay,
get the
all right. Okay,
opportunities for other
Kotoha,
person.
it's
Yeah,
okay.
you know
Thank
what?
you, Yusuf.
Let me.
Kotoha.
I'm going to write my email address into the chat, and you can, like, if there are more questions or if you want something,
Hmm.
just email me.
All right. Okay, Aisha, no question, Aisha?
No, just want to say thank you. It was a wonderful presentation.
Yes,
We learned quite
agree.
a few interesting concepts as well, and it was really nicely put. So
All
thank you
right.
from all of us, I think.
All right.
All right.
Thank you
Thank you,
so
Aisha, and thank
much.
you to
Thank
everyone
you.
for the positive feedback. And then I wish you a nice remainder of the week and with this intensive course. And warm greetings to Indonesia. Sampai jumpa
Yay.
dan saya
Sampai
senang.
jumpa. Hey, big
Okay.
applause for Professor Kopp. Thank you so much, Prof. Thank you.
Goodbye. See you.
Bye. See ya. Thank you, Prof. Okay,
Thank
our
you.
second speaker for this session, Dr. Dom or Dr. Tanawit Bunsit. His nickname is Dr. Dom. Is it, Doctor? Yeah,
Yeah,
Dr. Dom is already
so, yeah.
here. Right. Okay. Before we start Dr. Dom's um session, let me first read his short bio, yeah. Wait. Okay, wait. Um okay. Um Yeah, Dr. Tanawit Bunsit, or we call him Dr. Dom. He is the head of economics department of Taksin University in Songkhla, Thailand. You know who is Taksin? Who is Taksin? Do you know who is Taksin? Maybe Dr. Dom will explain who is Taksin by himself. Yeah. Okay. He's from Faculty of Economics and Business Administration, Taksin University. And also, of course, Dr. Dom is a lecturer in economics, but his PhD degree is in economics from University of Bath, United Kingdom, and he also has a Master of Research in International Development, still also from University of Bath, United Kingdom. And also he has another master degree, Master of Economics of Education from Srina Karin Wirot University from Bangkok. Okay. And he has a lot of publications in prestigious journals. You can also browsing from Google Scholar or Scopus. And also he has a joint research project with a Brazilian partner, yeah, from UFGD Dourados, Brazil. Okay, Professor Dr. Dom, your turn, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for the introduction. So nice to see you again. I've been to IPB once, um, I think a couple of years ago. So I hope I can visit again in the future. Sorry, this our student couldn't join this semester, but next time, yeah, maybe they can join. They have lots of classes this semester. Okay, I will share my slide now. Talking a little bit about my university, Thaksin University. Um, you know Thaksin? But actually, Thaksin is the name is similar to Thaksin Shinawatra. He is ex-Prime Minister of Thailand, but it's not related to our university. Our university is a public university in the south of Thailand. Thaksin means the south. So yeah, our university is the University of the South of Thailand. Today I will give a very short um, uh, story about Thailand and Switzerland and Brazil, about ecotourism and its impact on food security. Because Thailand, that is one of the place for tourism. We have lots of income from tourism. It's my hometown here in the south. So we have lots of interesting places in Thailand. I had some work in Switzerland, and for the last 12 years, I've been teaching and doing research in Brazil. So we have lots of connection between Thailand and Brazil. So I will share you some uh, about ecotourism in these three countries, and then after that we can discuss, right? Of course, Indonesia is one of the best place for tourism as well, so you can share with me. Yeah, I've been to some places in Indonesia, but not a lot. I hope I can see more. Okay, so when we talk about ecotourism, you think of the green places, the green area. So in Thailand, uh, a little bit before COVID and after COVID, ecotourism is very famous for people because it allows people to travel and it's very safe from being infected to COVID, right? So this you can see a lot of these tourism like this in the south of Thailand, even in the central part of Thailand. We have lots of rice field and people going there and they can sit far away from each other. They can have some rice and ice cream and food and enjoy the beauty of the nature. And of course, there are many variety of places in Thailand. You can go to different islands and beaches, and you can go hiking. You can go elephant trekking in a forest, or biking to the village, or biking around a different area around Thailand. We have 77 provinces, so everywhere you go, you can find every province. Now the government support this kind of tourism. So it's very easy now in Thailand to enjoy the nature. Of course, compared to the beauty of the nature in Switzerland, it's totally different because Switzerland is in the Alps. In terms of the activity is a little bit different, but in terms of nature, in terms of environment, it's quite we share some similarity, but in terms of the management, we learn a lot from Switzerland. For Brazil is in South America, and they are in quite similar to Thailand and Indonesia. Lots of the nature, the forest, the beach, the island is quite similar. The food. So in Brazil, ecotourism is very popular as well, but in terms of management and infrastructure development is still behind. Okay. Let's start from the ecosystem. I think you know already that ecosystem is a very well-known word for a long time ago, right? So when we talk about ecotourism, we focus on the nature, focus on the conservation and the sustainability. Sustainability, we focus more on a community, economically, socially, and culturally. And recently the World Tourism Organization, when we talk about this word, we focus on education as well. So when we talk about ecotourism, so we try to provide some opportunities for visitors to learn about nature and local culture and conservation. So it related to education as well. not only the nature. Compared to different definition or different organization, so you can say the key points still focus more on the preservation of the nature, but as well as the community well-being as well. WTO, UNWTO, the World Tourism Organization, is very focused more on education, but the International Ecotourism Society focuses on more responsible travel and natural areas and the benefit to the local. But for the International Union for Conservation of Nature, the highlight is the responsible travel as well, and the nature areas conservation efforts, and try to reduce the impact to the community and the impact to the nature, and try to maximize the benefit to the society. So comparing between Thailand, Switzerland, and Brazil, you can see that there's lots of differences. For example, the nature in Thailand very rich. When we talk about ecotourism in Thailand, we focus more on biodiversity, the forest, the beach, the scuba diving, going to some island and go diving. You can go to the south near my university, lots of places you can go for diving. Very beautiful. Yeah, but if you go to Switzerland, the ecotourism for them is hiking, go up to the Alps, go to some beautiful mountains, for example, Zermatt in the south, or Grindelwald, or some Alps area, right? Or the lake in the central part or the north part of Switzerland. In Brazil, yeah, you know that Amazon is number one for sure. And then in Rio de Janeiro, near the city, it's a big forest, lots of animals. And going to the south, in Iguazu area or southwest in Pantanal wetlands. So in Brazil, it's a very big country, so it's variety and different places around, right? Attraction, if we talk about attraction in Thailand, normally you focus more on beaches and island. So if you come to the south, the main places is Phuket, southwest coast, right? The biggest island, and southeast coast, Samui Island. And in the east coast near Pattaya, there are several islands. For example, Chang Island or Sumet Island, or at the moment Mark Island near the border to Cambodia is very popular now. Of course, another attraction in Thailand is temples. We have lots of temples. Last year, there are some students from Indonesia, from USK, Shakola University. They visited us, and then I took them to temples in Bangkok. They're very happy to see that, to learn about the culture, the beauty of the architecture, the arts in the temples. But for Switzerland, normally people prefer to go hiking, like the place I told you earlier, Zermatt or Grindelwald, that area, and some lakes. For example, in Geneva Lake, the big lake of Geneva, Lake Lucerne, or some lake in Thun or in Spiez, in central of the city, the country. But for Brazil, the main one is Amazon for sure, and Pantanal wetland. Pantanal wetland is in the southwest of Brazil, near the border of Paraguay. That one is very popular, and the biodiversity is quite rich and diverse of animals and plants, and some remote areas, some in Brazil. But the problem in Brazil is the infrastructure is not developed yet. So to go there, some places is very difficult because there is no paved road. It's unpaved road, and so it's quite far and complicated to visit. But for Thailand and Switzerland, it's very easy. You go to every tourist destination in Switzerland, you can go by cable cars or lots of facility, the train, even the train to the top of the mountain, very high mountain in Zermatt or in some Jungfrau mountain, you can go easily. You don't need to worry about travel. But for Brazil, you need to make a good plan because it's quite complicated and it's difficult to find the transport. So yeah, this is a big challenge of ecotourism in Brazil. Talking about the community involvement and government policy in Thailand, the government support lots of policy supporting sustainable development and ecotourism. The community, they learn a lot and they have lots of activities to improve ecotourism and tourist attraction in Thailand. In Switzerland, people, they're aware of that, but not a big effort. They just engage in the ecotourism, but because in everything is very, provided by the government. The government have very strict regulation in terms of ecotourism already. So local people, they don't really have to work hard. But in Thailand, lots of places, it needs lots of help from local communities, and local communities are very happy to help. But in Brazil, it's quite difficult because it's another story. In Brazil, it's indigenous, only the indigenous people, local people in the community try to improve, but because they're quite poor, they are local people, they're very poor, so they cannot improve that much to improve the ecotourism in the area. So needs a lot of private sector and government organization to help them. And these are just some activities comparing between three countries from my observation. So from Thailand, normally, if you come to Thailand, some of you, I think, you have been to Thailand already, right? So you can go wildlife viewing, bird watching. The community-based tourism is very everywhere, every province. All the villages had this kind of tourism, the adventure ecotourism, for example, in the north, in Chiang Mai, in the south, in Krabi or in Surat Thani, Phuket Island. Yeah, we have variety of places, but compared to Switzerland normally is more um, modern, the modern way of management. So normally they go for eco lodges and retreats, very nice place, very comfortable. The hiking place is very advanced and very, full equipped, lots of high modern equipment. The adventure ecotourism is very modern, lots of transport is very modern and they take care of the transport very well. Uh, Compared to Thailand, maybe still some of them still lagging behind. For Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro, in Pantanal, North Southwest, or in Amazon area, uh, is very popular one. The rest is kind of local initiative, still very small and very hard to get. Lots of tourists, they have to talk to the travel agents and to go. But it's still difficult because, for example, you want to go to some area and you talk to local people, they don't speak English. You need to speak Spanish or Portuguese or Spanish to try to communicate to them. But English, some of them cannot speak English, so it's kind of a little bit of uh, this language barrier in Brazil. Can I ask you, can you give me example of ecotourism that you have experienced? I want to hear from you a little bit about where have you been in Thailand? Or if you never been to Thailand, can you give me some example, uh, your experience in Indonesia? Anyone? Or if you have been to Switzerland or Brazil, that is good. You can compare. you can give me some example of some activities or where you have been for ecotourism. Anyone? If you've never been to these three countries, you can talk about Indonesia that you have been. Maybe Dr. Melanie can start with you. Maybe you travel a lot to Australia, to different places, and Thailand. So
Yeah.
what's your example can you give to us?
Dr. Tom, I just want to add that most of this, not most, yeah, many of these summer course students, they are international students from Pakistan, from Sri Lanka, but they are now studying in Indonesia.
Okay. So
Yeah, they are studying in Indonesia. In many university from Surakarta, from Yogyakarta. Yeah.
okay, so you
Yeah.
guys you have been in Indonesia, so can you give me some example of tourist attractions or where you have been in terms of ecotourism type, where you have been and what did you do and how do you feel about that?
Or maybe you haven't go a lot, guys, and then you will go with us, yeah, next week to the Thousand Islands.
Thousand Islands. So they are
Thousand
going
Islands,
they
yeah.
are going to the islands.
Yeah, they will we will be going to the Thousand Island from Doc.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And
or maybe you can, if you shy to talk, maybe can you type in the chat that where have you been? Maybe
yeah, come on,
type
guys,
type
students.
in the place that you have been.
Mr.
And
Tanwit, I have actually an class experience about not exactly an ecotourism, but it's a kind of field trip. So we go by 100 participants on this field trip. We go to a beach. It's called Pantai Anyar. It's located in the east of Java Island. Well, the purpose of this tourism is not really to enjoy the tourism, but rather have a what's it called? Survey to local what's called local people and how they have their income, about how they manage their income and etc. etc. So well, it's not really an ecotourism, but it's a fun experience for us. Well, actually, I just say it's 100 participant. It's actually the uh department of this summer course what's called again, oh my god,
organize that.
organizer.
Organize.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you, Miss Melanie.
Yeah. Thank you, Yusuf.
Okay, thank you. Good. So you have some experience in the field. Anyone else? Can be not maybe not can be in Indonesia, can be in other place in around the world.
Yeah.
Just share your experience around the world where you have been anywhere in this world, because it's not only this couple countries. I think in nowadays everywhere in the world they are really aware about ecotourism.
Right.
So can you share us your experience? Anyone that you have been?
But Mahmoud from Nigeria, is there any practice of ecotourism in Nigeria, Mahmoud?
Nigeria, can you share
Yeah,
some
we have
places?
so many places in Nigeria. One place I go is Yankari Game Reserves.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What is that, Mahmoud? What can we see at that? What resort? Some resort you call? Oh, Mahmoud. I don't know. Mahmoud is disappear maybe.
Where it has many wildlife animal in the sub.
Okay, so
Yeah,
it's
yes,
wildlife, like watching
yes,
wildlife.
yes, I studied forestry and wildlife management in my honors.
Hmm.
And in MS, I studied agroforestry and environment, and currently also PhD in agroforestry and environment. So actually, I am much deep interested in the issues related to wildlife and ecotourism areas.
Yeah, that's great. So if now you're in Indonesia, so if you want to study more or
Yeah.
to learn more, to see more, you can visit Thailand. Thailand is, yeah, you can visit a lot of places in Indonesia first because you're in Indonesia, right? And then if you
Now
have,
I'm in
yeah,
Bangladesh.
yeah. So all of you from
Oh,
Indonesia, you're welcome to visit
okay,
us in Taksin University, so I can
okay, sir.
show you
Now I'm
around.
in Bangladesh.
Yeah, okay. Anyone else? Thank
Okay, sir.
you.
Thank you.
Anyone else to share your experience about
Okay,
ecotourism?
sir. Okay, sir. Maybe if you have some
Sorry, what
Yeah,
did you say?
maybe looks like a weak signal, yeah, from Mahmoud side.
Okay, so there are some
Right.
friend in the chat. Uh, so this one is
Yeah,
Taman National Komodo, right?
yeah, from Rifda.
And Minneapolis. So Mustafa Samani has been to Minneapolis. Where is it? Minneapolis is in America.
Yeah, where is it, Mustafa? You want to say something or tell us something about this Minneapolis? Or Abdul Sabur has visited
Taman
Taman
Safari
Safari
in
in
Bogor.
Bogor. Yeah.
So okay, you can, if you think of anywhere else you have been, you can just keep putting in the chat area. Okay, good. I will continue a little bit of my slide. Okay, so you can see that there are lots of activities in terms of ecotourism between the three countries, but the most developed activities, the most developed infrastructure is Switzerland for sure, and Thailand. Uh, we are trying to improve all kind of facilities for tourists because this year we have a lot of tourists come already. From January until now, we have more than 25 million tourists already. So a lot of tourists come to Thailand. So we have to make sure that we have to preserve we don't want to harm our environment. So want to make sure that the visitor enjoy, have good experience in Thailand, but we don't want to destroy, or we want to reduce, try to minimize impact to tourism on nature. And for Brazil is now they are very it's difficult for them, very difficult to improve infrastructure in terms of they have lots of the inflation rate, the government has lots of difficulties, lots of issue, corruption problem as well. So it's very tough for them, very difficult for them to improve the infrastructure. Even the train is the project stop, and lots of project in Brazil is not going on. The last point is I want to share you about the link between ecotourism and food security because of this conference linked to food security as well, right? So in terms of this, lots of study I found from lots of study in the previous study, uh, it's proof that is interconnected link between ecotourism and food security. So these are some links. So the first one is income generation. So local people will get more income, more money for their to buy their food to make sure that they can get enough food. So this one is the first one, a very important one, because local people normally sometimes they don't have enough income for their food. They cannot afford for food. So the ecotourism have a lot. The second one is diversification of livelihood. So normally, especially in Thailand, local people they just got income for only single source of income. Some of them get the income from rice field, from rubber, from palm plantation, from fishery. So the ecotourism can be another extra income for them. So make sure that they have more income that link to their food security. And the third one is infrastructure development. This one, when the road system, the transport uh, is improved. So this helps people to access to the market easily. So they can go to the market, they can go to get some food easily. So this one is kind of another benefit of the ecotourism development. The number four is culinary preservation and cultural preservation. This one in different countries, different cities, uh, the culinary preservation happen because of the ecotourism. So, for example, like the homestay tourism. So visitor come visit the local and stay with the host, and the host will have to show them how to do the local food or the, some food that they don't not, normally they don't really have for their daily life, but there is like a old traditional food and to teach and to give to visitors. So this is a way they can preserve the some kind of food. And like in Thailand now, we try to bring back lots of food that we almost forget, and we try to learn more how to cook that kind of food and to show to uh, foreigners, to visitors. So now we have variety of food. We have more variety, and sometimes we create new products, new food. So this makes sure that we have variety of food in the future. Of course, ecotourism can preserve the nature, preserve the some animals, forests, biodiversity. Thailand, we have one of the diverse plants and animals. So ecotourism can help this in Brazil as well. In Switzerland is of course Switzerland is very easy. They have strict rules, so they can preserve that very well. Uh, Number six is important not only for economic or social aspect. So education is another one that the government and everybody need to focus more in the future in terms of giving knowledge, giving more information to visitor and give information and knowledge to local people and stakeholders as well. Number seven is the government and the community. They can help each other to make decision and to improve, foster the community and the local area for ecotourism. So actually, this number seven is very important. Number eight is the now we going to the stage of climate change. Not only the global warming, but lots of people now we know we changed the word to global boiling already because it's so hot. I think in Thailand and Indonesia it's the same. So we need more to promote more ecotourism, more to preserve, reduce the carbon emission and increase the green areas. For example, in Bangkok now, the government try to expand every inches of the city, expand more space of parks and trees and green areas, even by the road or by the street, by the between buildings, to increase more green areas. So we need to reduce not only one country, every country in Bhutan, in China, in Indonesia, all the countries need to help each other to reduce this, try to minimize the effect to the environment. So this one is for the future. Climate change will change our behavior, change our production productivity. So the food is going to be more difficult, more expensive. But ecotourism can uh, maybe reduce that effect. Okay, so I will stop now. I think I talked too much. Maybe we can discuss more about what we can do in terms of Indonesia, the government. I want to know more about in Indonesia. You think the government they should do more, or did they do enough for promote ecotourism, or what they have to do more to promote ecotourism? What do you think?
That's an interesting discussion question, Dr. Dom. Yeah, maybe participants from IPB can try to address that discussion question from Dr. Dom. And I also want to remind you to fill in the attendance form, yeah, participants. I already post the two link for the attendance form for Professor Kopp's session and also for the Dr. Dom's session, yeah. Okay, is there any response? How about Pak Sutrisno? Pak Sutrisno from Indonesia? Do you have any opinion about how what do you think Indonesian government doing for our ecotourism sector? Did they do enough, or they have to improve so much, or yeah, what do you think, Pak Sutrisno? That's Dr. Dom challenge us.
Actually, I have an idea about the ecotourism in Indonesia because I have visited more in the ecotourism places, but in some rural areas when I was in some tourism place, but there is not organized by the local people or by local government. And it is interesting to know that even the local government don't care about the situation there. I mean, the natural is really good, very nice sightseeing, but the organization is not really good. For example, just parking lots and something like that.
Yeah, so there is needs to improve much, yeah, from your perspective, yeah, Pak Sutrisno, yeah. Okay, how about Rifda? Do you have any opinion from what you see in so far about ecotourism in ecotourism side in Indonesia, and how Indonesian government done with this sector?
Okay, thank you, Miss. In my opinion, I see the era of Society 5.0. Society 5.0, one of them is the Ministry of Tourism. We can making mini video related to natural beauty in several public areas, such as advertisement in Transjakarta, because I visit the public transportation at Jakarta, especially Transjakarta, and many more about video can promotion about related to natural beauty in several public areas.
All right, thank you, Rifda. Okay, Dr. Dom, is there any more challenging question? Because we in the next 10 minutes we already also have another speaker. Oh my God.
Okay, so
Very, very
I
busy.
maybe just give you and maybe question for you to think about this at home, or you can
Right.
discuss with your colleagues or your friends or your lecturer in the future. But I hope you are the everybody here, you are the important people to push this. If the government,
Right.
local people, they don't do anything, you need to do it, because it affects us. Because now it's not global warming anymore. You realize that, right? It's global boiling. It's so hot. So next
Right.
the couple of years, you will see that it's going to be hotter and hotter. And
Mm.
our products, food, the rice, our agricultural products we produce is more difficult, and we're going to have more expensive food and everything. But we need to help each other. We need to, from your knowledge, you have to maybe spread your words on your social media, or talk to your colleague or your local, your neighbors, your local authorities, local government. Try to do something. I know it's difficult, like Sutrino said, it's difficult. They don't care about many things. So, but we need to, maybe from your friend, start from small group first. If you're a student, you can do something like a club. You can do your club, that you can go to some places and you can raise awareness of to local people. I just give you a last story. Last month there's a big group of students from USK, from Sekolah University. They visit us, and then they do
From Aceh, yeah, Doc? From Aceh, yeah.
Yeah, from Aceh, Sekolah University from Banda Aceh. And we went to, they do the CSR program. We went to the beautiful beaches in near our campus, but lots of rubbish. So we try to collect the rubbish and just raise awareness to local people. And local people, they saw us. Why? What's wrong with this group of Indonesian students? They're wearing like an Indonesian uniform, right? And why they did this? Why they came here? So they try to collect the rubbish, and then some local people come and help. So this is successful already. That you can raise awareness. They try to help collecting rubbish. So you can start from something very simple, very easy, and you can spread your words. Put on your social network, Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, anything. So from yours, maybe some of you are TikToker already or YouTuber already. You try to do something like this, or maybe it's gonna go up to the government one day when it's getting bigger and bigger. I'm sure, like in Thailand, some people, some students put something on Facebook, on TikTok, WhatsApp, uh, or the Instagram, it is getting bigger and bigger, and then the government will see, oh, this is a problem. We have to do something because people complain too much, people put photos too much. So this can be another way, because you are young generation, you like using this kind of social network. So do this. Using this bandwagon effect to have spread this kind of awareness. Okay,
Right.
so I hope you have a good time in this summer course, and you learn something new, and you bring something to give impact to your community in Indonesia. And I
To the
hope,
world.
yeah, to the world, Indonesia and
Yeah.
the world. Yeah, yeah. Good. So good luck and have fun, and I hope to see you. Maybe if you want to visit us in Thailand, you are welcome. You can get my contact with Dr. Melanie, and you can send me. I'm happy to talk to you. Okay.
Right.
Have fun
Thank you
with
so
the
much.
class. Thank you. Bye
Thank
bye.
you so much. Very strong message from Dr. Dom. The message is together, yes, we can, yeah.